In this smartphone show I give you a roundup of the top 10 cool things to do with your smartphone. There's a full review of the Orange SPV C600. Got some video from Rafe Blandford on 3GSM, the largest mobile phone show in the world. And I give you tips on the Sony Ericsson P900 and to do with your expansion card. Hello, this show is called the Smartphone Show, but what makes a smartphone smart? What distinguishes this Orange SPV or this Nokia Series 60 smartphone from the average feature phone out on the high street? Now it's true the boundaries are getting more blurred, but I define it as a smartphone being completely extensible. I don't just mean adding a Java game or adding a new ringtone. I mean adding proper natively compiled programs designed to run really efficiently and really well on these devices. You can add as many as you want, and they can do some quite sophisticated things. Let me just run through a few, and I'll put some screenshots up as well. Voice-guided satellite navigation. This thing can be your in-car sat-nav. Route finding around your local city's underground network, for example. What about local searches, searching for local restaurants, local businesses, all based around your current cell position or by typing a postcode into your mobile phone, into your smartphone. What about putting databases on your smartphone? And I don't mean boring company stuff, I mean fun stuff, like stuff you actually need to know and need to remember, including perhaps your CD collection or your collection of moths. What about photo blogging? These things have got pretty good cameras in now. What about using them to photo blog to a photo blogging service or to your own website? And I don't just mean again a photograph, I mean a photograph and caption and comment and all the stuff you can type in, and that you can tag your photos appropriately. With a Bluetooth wireless keyboard you can turn either of these smartphones into a full laptop replacement, typing in office reports, articles, diary entries, and making productive use of your otherwise wasted time on your journey to work. In terms of entertainment, what about watching a DVD on your smartphone? This is unheard of. This is jaw-droppingly impressive, or it should be. You can get programs these days that transcode, that's convert stuff you've ripped off your own DVDs and watch them on your small smartphone screen. In surprisingly good quality and with a headphone attached, you can be in your own private cinema, or on the tube, or on the bus, or on the plane. Ditto with music, of course. Now this is becoming quite widespread even in feature phones, but don't forget these smartphones can make pretty good MP3 or Windows Media Audio digital music players. What about sports? I mean, you're probably the fresh air type anyway, but if it's raining or if you're not near your facilities, what about playing a round of golf on your smartphone, or knocking in a few balls at the local pool hall on your smartphone? There are some surprisingly realistic simulations there, and you can have a lot of fun. Finally, what about in-store price checking? You're at a store, you see something you really want, but it's quite pricey. Is it going to be cheaper on the internet, or do you buy it now? Simply use the URL I quote below here. Go on with your mobile web browser on your smartphone, and within a few seconds you'll see a whole handful of prices, representative prices from online companies for the same product, and you can make the decision properly. I hope I've whetted your appetite. This is a blisteringly fast run through of some cool things you can do with your smartphone. But these smartphones are smart in that you can do virtually anything with them. They're limited only by the imagination of the programmers who design the programs for them. So this is my review of the Orange SPV C600. The latest incarnation of Windows Mobile in this keypad-driven candy bar form factor. It's also known as the HTC Faraday, the people who designed it, of course, and in America it's being distributed by Singular under the model name 2125, but here in the UK and in Europe it's Orange, who have exclusive rights. The standard Windows Mobile Today screen is replaced by their own signature screen, which gives certain common operations, certainly with an orange bent. You can see here their own fun info tools options, all of which take you online and using up their data tariffs, but also offering a pretty seamless experience for the new user. I have to say though, as someone who is used to Windows Mobile and other devices, the very first thing I did was click up the Start, Settings, Home screen, and you'll find you can thankfully change it away from the default orange home screen to any of the other alternatives, I'm going to choose Windows Default, the one I'm most used to. So back on the home screen, it will just take a few seconds to sort its system files out, and there we are with a much more familiar Windows Mobile home screen with the list of recently used applications along the top, most of which are usually still running in memory, which is fine because it means it's faster switching. Then some status information, summary of appointments, and so on and so forth, and pressing the navigator in on any of the panels takes you to the appropriate application. All pretty standard Windows Mobile stuff. The screen, as you can see, is gorgeously clear and bright. It's Quarter VGA. The keypad has nicely rounded keys. I like the big home and back buttons. I love the fact that the function keys are directly underneath the soft keys on screen, so there's no confusion about which button does what. Everything's just so rounded and ergonomic, and I have to say, of all the Windows smartphones I've ever tried, this is perhaps the one which could tempt me away from my preference, which is normally for Symbian OS devices. This one's pretty special. The weight of the SPV C600 is 105 grams, pretty similar to the i8 SP5 which we looked at in the last show. It's very light and very pocketable indeed. On the back is the now standard 1.3 megapixel camera, pretty adequate quality for taking shots out and about and even printing them, although the quality doesn't quite come to the same standard as things like the Nokia N70 and certainly not the Nokia N90. On the left hand side are rocker buttons for adjusting system volume and a shortcut at the top to the Internet Explorer application. On the right hand side there's a similar button for the camera. On the bottom, mini USB, as you'd expect to find these days, and a now standard 2.5mm four-way stereo headset. On the software side of things, I have to say Windows Mobile strikes me as somewhat application light compared to some of the Series 60 smartphones that I'm used to reviewing. Just stepping here through the main application launcher, there are 2.5 screens of 9 icons, which gives you an idea of the relatively few applications on offer. There are a couple of folders with games, accessories in, but nothing really of any note. There are no Office viewers or editors here. There's no Notes application to sync to your Outlook notes, and I think Microsoft and certainly the manufacturers and carriers are banking on the fact that people who are keen on this type of smartphone are going to go out and buy a lot of third-party software and get their smartphone equipped in that way. But out of the box, it's a bit disappointing. In terms of multimedia, I've spoken about the camera already. The video recording is at 176 by 144 pixels, the standard for MMS video. Again, this is a bit disappointing in the modern age. We're starting to see now cameras in smartphones which can rival bottom-end camcorders for basic footage, and there's nothing like that here. If we go to pictures and videos, there's a pretty nice gallery application, and in Windows Mobile 5 you can do basic editing of your pictures, which is nice. One disappointment is the fact that to switch between internal memory and the storage card, you've got to go through the menu and then down to the appropriate menu option, or press 7, and then into folders and then into storage card. It's not trivial switching between the two. Connectivity with the SPV C600 is pretty good. There's no Wi-Fi as in the i8 SP5 we looked at in the last show, but there is infrared. There's a window on the top, so infrared plus Bluetooth. It's quad band, so you can use it more or less anywhere in the world. I had a few issues with the Bluetooth. It refused to transfer objects between my PC and this smartphone wirelessly, but I had the same problem with a few other Windows Mobile devices, and I suspect that this is some kind of software upgrade I need to do on my PC. With Orange especially, they do look after their customers in terms of backup and updates, and you can do over-the-air synchronization and backup and updates of the operating system. This is all pretty nice. How much of this is to do with the C600 design itself and how much to do with Orange, I'm not quite sure, but the overall experience is pretty impressive.
As with other Windows Mobile 5 devices, like the iMate SP5 we looked at, there's a task manager. At long last, Windows Mobile comes up to scratch with a decent way of switching between running programs instantly. Let's go back now to the home screen, again straight back to task manager, and then switch to another running program. This is a lot faster than navigating through the launcher system, especially when you've got lots of third-party programs installed. Expansion on the C600 is via mini SD card. If I take the back off, you can see one drawback. Like the iMate SP5, I'm guessing it's some kind of HTC design ethos now, but the expansion card is beneath the battery. You have to take the battery out, which means powering it down, change your memory card over, pop the battery back on, and then boot it up again. And booting Windows Mobile 5 isn't quick. Now this is just a real pain. Again, most of the modern Nokia smartphones, they have hot swappable cards, especially when you've got cards with music and films and all sorts of other multimedia on. You really don't want to have to power your device down and be out of action for up to 5 minutes just to change your memory card. This is ridiculous. And as standard, Orange ship a 32 megabyte mini SD card. This is a bit stingy of them really for something of this value. You'd have thought the extra few pence needed to bring it up to say 128 megabyte and give the user a decent amount of storage space for their first movies or songs would have been a good move.
Overall then, the C600 is a very capable smartphone. I love the ergonomics. It's just the worry about the expansion card being underneath the battery. With enough third-party software in terms of applications and utilities, this can be a very, very capable smartphone in a very small form factor. It's a bit of a shame that you can only get it through Orange. If you're a Vodafone customer like me, or O2 or a T-Mobile fan, or you have to switch to Orange to get it. Let's hope some more networks pick this up, and perhaps we see a SIM-free version from the likes of iMate, who tend to rebadge a lot of HTC designs. So, that's the C600.
Now, although this isn't a news show as such, we couldn't resist this. This is Barcelona at 3GSM, the biggest mobile phone show of the year, and Rafe Blanford from allaboutSymbian.com here hands-on with the Sony Ericsson M600i with a QWERTY keypad laid out around a numeric layout, rocker keys. It's slim, it's black, there's no camera, it's mainly aimed at business professionals for messaging on the move. And here's a screenshot quite close in on its counterpart in the consumer world. They do a thing called the W950i Walkman phone. Really, the real music bent. You've got dedicated keys for music playback, and as you can see, a pretty music-oriented interface. Again, there's no camera, which is a rather strange decision of Sony Ericsson's, but we'll let that slide. This is the Nokia 3250 with a swivelling bottom section containing a camera, and also the dual controls seen there for music and for the phone keypad, so you can switch it between the two modes. And here's Rafe just trying out a few of the self-videoing and the object viewing modes. Here's the fabled Nokia N91. It's a large beast. It's got a 4 GB hard disk whirring away inside it, iPod style, and it's unashamedly got the iPod in its sights. Here's Rafe trying out the music interface. But beneath the music side of things, it is a pretty capable Series 60 smartphone with a high-resolution screen and all recent Symbian modcons. One disappointment of Rafe's filming was that he managed to lose the most vital clip, from my point of view, which was a look at the E71 shown here with its gull-wing keypad swung over the screen to transform it into a proper QWERTY keypad communicator. But we'll come to that in the next show in a lot more detail, I hope.
Now for this smartphone show, I thought I'd show you something different. This is the Sony Ericsson P900. You'll also find it as the P910 with, underneath the flip, a little QWERTY keyboard. But underneath the hood they're essentially the same unit. It's a touchscreen PDA phone with a very palm-like way of working. Along the top of the shortcuts, and I'm sure if you've got one you'll already have discovered what they all do, switching between the main programs. On the right here, by default, you have the main application launcher with a very palm-like way of working. When you first see it, you'll have all set as the main category, and of course all the programs get listed one after the other, and it's a bit of a pain wading through them just to find the one you want to go to next. So of course you tap on the pick list and you can see those applications you've categorized as business, as media, tools and so on. After you've installed programs, by default they end up in unfiled, unsurprisingly, and again this can grow into a pretty substantial list if you've been installing all sorts of freeware and shareware. So the thing to do is to go into applications and click on set folders, and for each application in the smartphone you'll see the current folder assignment, and anything currently set to unfiled you simply tap on that one and change it to be the folder you'd like, in this case say media, and then done. And you do this for each of the applications in unfiled, and then when you're finally done you'll be able to switch back and cycle between the different folders of applications much more speedily. Tip for any smartphone owner, regardless of which model you have: all smartphones have an expansion slot, whether it's MMC here, multimedia card, or SD, Secure Digital, Memory Stick Pro, Mini SD. There are numerous variations, but there's one important principle which applies to all of them, and that is, if you're installing software on your smartphone, especially low-level stuff like utilities, programs that customize the appearance, the interface of your device, always choose to install them on the expansion card. That way, if you have problems, and for example your smartphone can't boot or it won't start up properly, you simply take out the expansion card, and then you know beyond a shadow of a doubt that it's not your added program that's going to get in the way and that's stopping the booting problem. And 9 times out of 10 it will boot quite happily, and then with it booted you can put the card back in and then go in and remove the offending program. It's a very, very powerful technique, this. It also helps keep the internal storage memory of your device clear, of course. This was on the Nokia 9300, but the same principle applies to whether you've got a Series 60, UIQ, a Windows Mobile, or even a Palm OS device. Put the dangerous stuff on card.
Before signing off, I must just plug all about Symbian.com. They provide the hard disk space and the bandwidth for each edition of the smartphone show. On allaboutSymbian.com you can find forums, reviews, a support knowledge base, news of course, and major features. Well worth a visit. That's it for Programme 5 of the Smartphone Show. Keep subscribing, tell all your friends, and let's see if we can keep this show going. Bye for now.